Gotcha.
What
All
is
right.
good, ladies and gentlemen? This is Robert, and thank you for tuning in to Station Square. I have my Sunny D over here just to stay hydrated. And thank you so much for tuning in to the show. And today we got a very special guest here. I think we kind of had to move this back a week, but nevertheless, we're here and we're just going to be chatting with David in the corner. And yeah, I'm
Okay.
just really happy to chat with you like this, sir.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. So, I guess without much further ado, let's just get right on into this. So, I
Sure.
guess my first question is, how's 2025? Because I know you've been doing a lot of music, a lot of shows. So, yeah, just tell us a little bit about it.
Well, 2025 so far has been, hyper dynamic. Okay. It's been wild, so far. We have
Yeah.
this, we have this new administration, which is creating much havoc in our country and other places around the world. So that's its own thing. But in terms of what I've been doing musically, I've been really, I've been re-energized um, since the election, since the Democratic Party lost the election. Basically, like sanity lost a national election, and now we're left with all this kind of stuff. And it really took me. It took me a minute. It took me a couple of months to get myself to get over that disappointment and the kind of it was like kind of like a gut punch, Haven't seen that much a display of unified positive energy in a very long time. People came out and all kinds of people offered all kinds of support. Well, at the end of the day, it didn't end in the way that a lot of us would have liked. But since seeing the effect of these really most inappropriate people being in positions of authority, since seeing the effect of that now, along with the rest of the world, I'm re-energized, to speak out about it, to speak out against it, against the wrongness of it conceptually. It's ridiculous, Um, beyond ridiculous. It's almost like it's kind of Shakespearean, And Shakespeare is fantastic literature, but it's known for its irony. Its irony runs throughout Shakespeare's work. And it's very ironic that we have the situation. We've had our democracy for several hundred years now. And here comes along this threat, and no one ever said, hey, one day the richest human being on the planet Earth is going to hook up with the most unqualified, intellectually and morally. I'm talking about Donald Trump, morally and intellectually and ethically in every way possible, the most unqualified person. I'm sorry, he just is. It's a fact. This unqualified person is gonna hook up with the richest human being on the planet, who in his own way is equally unqualified. It's not right, and they both have their own mental profiles. They both have their issues. And I mean, I don't want to, I don't want to get too deep into the woods on politics, but having answered me the question, I have to honestly answer it exactly. This is what's going on with me inside and how I'm feeling and why I'm doing the things I'm doing, why I'm writing the songs that I'm writing, why I'm speaking about the subjects that I want to speak about. Because it's on. It really is. It's like a war. Donald Trump has started this insane trade war with tariffs, and he's lied to his fans and people who believe what he says, thinking that tariffs are a good thing. He's in the process of destroying the economy. He's created a war that doesn't. It's completely made up. All of this stuff. His definition of what a tariff is even is a stupid lie. It's exactly the opposite. He had his press secretary come out, and someone from the Associated Press asked her a question. He said, "Excuse me, do you know what a tariff is? Because I've paid it, and it doesn't work like that way. It's not a benefit to me, as the person paying the tariff." And she tried to insult him and tried to, kick him out of the situation. But we're at war with uh, we're in a war for reality itself, for reality and the rule of law in this country. We really are. These people are running around like they don't give a good doggone about what a law is or why it is or where you can't go. And it needs to be stopped, and it's being stopped incrementally. So it's a war in the courts. All right, the court system is really, um, waking up and undoing a lot of the mischief that these folks are doing, like firing thousands of people without just cause, getting access to your personal information, your banking records, Social Security. There's no need for that. There's no need for that. But to see these people come in the brazen, wanton way that they have, and broken more laws than you can shake a stick at, as my mom used to say. They've done nothing but break laws since their first day, and they continue. But again, they're being stopped in the appellate courts. I saw this morning, my wife showed me something before she went to work. Letitia James in New York has filed suit against Elon Musk, and she won in court, stopping him from having access to our personal records, our personal financial information, and Social Security information. So that's the latest sort of victory. But there's victories every single day, you know, and the victories against the wrongness don't always get the spotlight that they should. If you're not paying attention in a holistic kind of way, you'll just hear the latest mad pronouncement that Mad King Donald has, woken up and said. Okay, but if you're really interested in the subject itself, and you do more than just listen to the latest Instagram, posting or whatever. And there's information up there, but a lot of times Instagram does not give you the complete story and you're getting it out of context. So if you really want to take the time to listen to other multiple news sources, and find out not just what the latest crazy thing Donald Trump has said today, but the latest victory in the appellate court system stopping him from doing all this wild stuff that he's doing. So,
Yeah, I that really couldn't be further from the truth, man. And I know I usually don't discuss politics on the show, but it's
mhm.
so it's very important to at least stay to at least be informed of what's happening, and just not to ignore just all of what has been basically been going down since we've kind of been, under a new administration. So it's just kind of like, man, I really get that everybody, we're all just trying to keep on fighting or battling for a better, you know, at least, yeah, really for a better future. But it's like, at the end of the day, it's a long, long road before we get there, and we never said that it's gonna be easy. Okay, nothing in life is just handed to us. Like nothing's easy. Like pursuing a career or politics or whatever it is that you're doing. Like I never shy away from just giving out. Just hey, like whatever it is that you're pursuing, I encourage everybody, but it's going to be a pretty long road until, and it just never really stops, It's like a long journey that just never ever ends, at least from
It's
my perspective. Yeah.
no, it's like that. It seems to have
Yeah.
levels of success
Mm,
or a big season of success. For me, we've been kicked back to the 1950s and 40s and 50s in terms of the
interesting.
energy behind it. Now, I was born in 1953, okay?
Mm,
And I saw that stuff close up hand, and my family, both sides of my family are from the South, from Daytona Beach, Florida, okay? We used to spend our summer times when school was out. My father would put us in the car, and we used to drive from Asbury Park, New Jersey, to Daytona Beach, Florida, and we would make one stop. We would get to Maryland, and there would be like one of those, like a food a diner kind of food place. You park and eat some food and then carry on your trip. We would stop there, and then that was it. We basically, and my father would go, "We're not stopping anywhere in the southern states. We're not stopping anywhere in Alabama except for gasoline. So once we got in past Maryland, it was like, and I remember because we had these. I mean, it sounds weird. I've spoken to other people who had the same experience, but the threat, the danger of being stopped by a racist cop in 1953 on your way anywhere in certain states, you know. And Maryland was like the last so-called safe place, for that. But you could lose your life, the wrong person, the wrong time. Just like look how many police brutal things that we've seen, and imagine what went on before the internet and before everybody had a phone and could blast information all around the world. Imagine what people didn't know about. Okay. Anyway, why am I telling you about going down south? But it's the energy. I'll cut that story short if we get it. But it's the energy of that. And once we got to Daytona Beach, Florida, boom, we're safe. Okay, great. But it's got that kind of energy again to where they're trying to erase black people and people of color. They're trying to erase them from the history of the country. They're literally taking down portraits and photographs and plaques of achievement by people in the military, by people in all sorts of what they apparently Colin Powell doesn't exist anymore. Oh, really? Like he's not like they're just literally erasing the visual and sort of text reference of him, and they're doing that to a lot of things. But listen, it's to go back to what you said. It feels like it's a long, long road, and we make tremendous progress. The civil rights movement in the 50s and 60s was unbelievable, outrageous what was accomplished. People put their lives on the line. They gave every single thing they had. They encouraged and inspired other people, and we made tremendous progress. Or as Dave Chappelle would say, blah, 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 Obama, boom, great, onwards, which at this moment, that's my, for me, until we do better or do differently, let's say, the Obama years were America at its height. That was a real expression of America. The fact that it happened, the fact that it was as successful as it was, and the fact that he ran a second term. You know, I mean, but okay. So that season seems to have, it's become winter in America in terms of the season. If Obama was spring and summer, well, Trump and all his cohorts are like winter time. But what what damage has been done can be undone. It really can, even on the level of people being, summarily dismissed from their jobs for no reason. Well, guess what? You can get that job back, or that there's a remedy for that. And again, that's another thing that's happening in the courts. They're being forced to rehire these people. It's been found that first of all, it's just straight up unconstitutionally wrong. There is a process to do that. You just can't come in with your teenage gang of you know computer misfits and change everything. But again, in the expression of doing it and in the act of doing it, however much they get away with, there is damage done, but it can be reversed, and that's our job. That's our job as individuals. If we speak out against it in whatever platform we see fit, or we just even discuss it amongst ourselves, and get our own heads right, and get our hearts right, and get our hands right, and do and say what we know to be right. Um, there's always value in that, and everybody has their own way of doing that, of being a part of the war. And what are we warring for? We're warring for the rule of law, and we're warring for reality. A fact is a fact, excuse me, and facts do matter. People walk around with a stupid T-shirt on, facts don't matter. Well, take your head out of your nether regions and wake up, because facts do matter. And I was born into a universe in a world where facts matter. Facts were everything. Facts could save your ass if you were wrongly accused of something. You get the fact, you're a free person, you're walking away. Facts matter. Facts are just about everything. And reality matters. And the rule of law matters. It really does. and to walk in and see these bunch of people, again, the most inappropriate people around, and try and do this is it's hard to watch, but that's our day. We don't just watch it; we work in our own individual way to against it, to stop
Would you say that everything that you've just shared with us,
it. Mhm.
so if I were to go back and, just because you were born from the 50s and just noticing a lot of the culture and everything,
Right.
like particularly with music, politics, and all this stuff, would you say that, being born and raised in the 50s, you were kind of you, I mean, I was just kind of curious about how, the whole music stuff just kind of came to be, just being raised in that generation and and getting to still perform all this time. And now that we're into the 2020s, how would you say that, with your roots and your background, really was a large inspiration and an influence on how you produce and make music and just
I,
doing a lot of the stuff that you're
yeah,
doing today?
yeah, that's a good question. I personally think that's just a thing of good fortune. I'll just call that good fortune. I find myself, I consider myself fortunate to have been born when I was born in the early 50s, and to be born where I was born, in America, first of all, uh, in New Jersey, in the Northeast, and into a family of, interesting people in their own right. So that's good fortune. But I think uh, the 50s and 60s was a very special time socially. I mean, look at it as energy. Look at it as an energetic thing. What was the 60s all about? The movement was about the love generation. Come on, peace and love. Remember that huge moment? You're too young to remember it, to have, lived through it like in a way that I did, but that's all right. It exists. You can see it. You can back up and watch it. But just as energy, that's what people were on about like expansion of consciousness, you know, um, ingesting different things like mushrooms and cannabis and LSD and all these different things, and music that had been, there was a fusion of music, bringing swinginess back to music because of the technology of that era advances. We had instruments that never existed before. Okay. So before it came along, there was no such thing as a Hammond organ, a B3 organ, if you know what I'm talking about. It's you see it in churches and everything. It's on records, and jazz artists like Jimmy Smith, and it's an incredible instrument. Well, that thing didn't exist. It didn't exist before. It didn't exist in the 1920s or the 30s. I think that thing was, if I get my history wrong, forgive me, but I think the Hammond organ was invented somewhere in the late, I don't know, 40s, something like that. But the point is that having access to instruments and being able to make sounds that no one else was able to do before, that was in its own way just like a revelation. That was super exciting. And people did all kinds of interesting things with the instrument. And then here comes along again what happened in the mid 60s. Robert Moog and a couple of scientists invented this instrument, and they called it a synthesizer. Okay, the Moog synthesizer. Now, all kinds of people went on to do when they got their hands on this thing. Um, Again, you're making sounds that didn't exist in previous generations. Okay, so remember Stevie Wonder's album Talking Book?
So I do.
Okay, well, when that came out, it was a revelation because he had done a thing. He had hooked up one of the guys who, not one of the inventors of it, but one of the guys who was involved around the creation of this Moog synthesizer, which was able to make sounds that you could never hear before. And Stevie used this thing in a way that no one else had done it before. So yeah, I mean, check it out. It's all over that album. He uses it almost on every song in some kind of way. He was able to sort of multi-layer it, because you could only make one note at a time. That was the thing about it. It could only generate one note at a time, not like a keyboard and you press down a bunch of keys, you get a bunch of sound. This was like you press one key and you get one sound. But the things that you could do with that were amazing. And it led to all kinds of other stuff. So the Hammond organ, the Moog synthesizer, um, and then digital instruments, came out of nowhere, and just people were. Then you had bands like people who were musicians, who again of my generations. So musicians like myself who may have grown up listening to and liking and learning classical music, right? A lot of people did. A lot of jazz musicians, a lot of people that you might not think so were really raised to some degree on classical music. But at the same time, they were exposed to other music. So they're exposed to jazz. So you don't just hear sort of the harmonics and the melodic stuff of classical music. Now you're also hearing the harmonic content of jazz, which is different, in its own kind of world. And then here comes this thing, rock and roll. What's that? Oh, right. We didn't have rock and roll in the 20s or 30s. It's a whole other thing. This was a thing of our generation. And then that became huge. So you had musicians rather, who were aware of and proficient to some degree in classical music, but they also were aware of and proficient in jazz and interested in it. And also, here comes, rock and roll and rhythm and blues. So all these things became like, for some people, like a big stew. Okay. And that's what led to bands like, everything from like, the British stuff like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Gentle Giant, Yes, and then over here we had bands like Mahavishnu Orchestra. Um, Miles Davis was doing outrageous things, combining um, jazz harmonics and funk rhythms and all kinds of stuff. It was wild. But that was only a thing that could have happened in our generation. You know, it's a side effect of just the evolution of humanity. You know, technology advancement has quite a lot to do with it. But no, I'm very fortunate to be exactly where I am and to be doing what I'm doing with whatever time I have left in this world. I'm very happy.
Yeah. And that's what's so beautiful about it. It's like we have one life to live, and what is something that you're gonna spend most of your time doing? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I do wanted to also ask you about your
Hmm.
album, The Ghost of Jim Crow. So tell us a little bit about that. Yeah.
Um, I put out the first song. I put it out in November, just before the election, and it's about kind of what we were speaking about. So I noticed, well, of course, well before the election, because I've had this in my mind for quite a while. Um, but the return of that energy, the return of that negative, that racist, that oh God, I'm trying to find the proper word for it. That destructive energy that wants to keep people down and bar people from having access or having opportunity. So I'm using that metaphor. That's Jim Crow energy. Okay, that's a broad term for it, but that's what it's about. I see that returning in society. We see it. Come on, it's like all over in the news. All kinds of stuff happening. And this is not a black and white Jim Crow situation where the basis of Jim Crow was to dehumanize and to degrade the black population and stop them from having any access to anything. You couldn't live in certain areas. You couldn't walk into certain restaurants. You couldn't be in certain hotels. All that kind of nonsense. Okay, so again, I see it coming back, and I very much want to speak out about it. So the first song was called "Why Must It Be So," and that's on our site. There's a video of that and a song about that, and it just again it was released just before the election happened. And this next one that I just finished last night, um, the subject matter is a little bit different, but it still has to do with our society and the kind of effects of what happens with Jim Crow. But it's a little more broad. It speaks about what's going on with, let's say, the sightings that people have been seeing in the skies with unidentified flying objects. You know, that's sort of taken a back seat to lately because of the political thing in our country is so like wild every day. It's like some crazy thing. But if you remember, several months ago, every day it was like people are seeing stuff in the sky, unexplained, um, doing things that defy our technology, technological ability. So it's about that. But it's also about this election, the results of the election. There's a little bit of it about these people coming in and doing things that are not legal and not good. Uh, and then what was the third? It's like, yeah. So we speak about that. We speak about the bad election results and just the basic mood of the populace. I think of people of like ourselves. Okay, and I have a lot of resonance with people who aren't who wouldn't say that they're democratic or anything, but they're sane human beings, and they know what's good and they know what's bad. They know which way is up and which way is down, and they want to be a part of a sane world that treats people, decently. So it's about telling people to sort of persevere, persevere and have hope, because right now we're in a position of dreaming about and working towards the world that we want to have, but we're not there yet, you know. And the title of this new song is called "Now We Dream." Yeah, now we dream, and and that's it. I've been doing this technique lately. I started doing it on Eyes Wide Open album, where I'll take a song and I'll do an audio collage around it. I'll start with the audio collage of information from different sources, from news channels or somewhere on the internet, and that'll intro the song, and then the song will start, and then maybe there'll be something in the middle. But they also end with a little audio collage of what's going on that I take from the internet.
Uh, Before we wrap this up, you're going to
Mm.
be touring on the
Yeah,
Open Secret Project throughout the United States, so I
that,
guess you might
that
as well want to.
yes.
Okay.
If you go to my website at therealdavidsancious.com, all the information is there about exactly where we are, how to get tickets. It's going to be about 3 weeks of touring. We're not there. It's going to start on the 1st of May, and we're going to be mainly on the East Coast. But again, if you go to the website, David Sancious, the real davidsancious.com, you can see all the information about there, exactly where we are. And it's myself and Will Calhoun, incredible Will Calhoun. This is about the third, I think it's like our third sort of brief tour that we've done. We started in, God, was it 2019, I think? And we don't get to do it as much as we would both like to do because he's very involved with a bunch of stuff. He's got a lot of projects going, and I've been busy myself lately since moving to Hawaii here. Um, but it's a great project, and it's the two of us. It's music written by the two of us, and some of it is spontaneously composed, right in real time, right there. Some of it are actual songs that we either have written together or separately, and we work out an arrangement, for it. And play it. But we're very excited to do it. We record everything we do live. We have an excellent audio engineer, front of house person named Robert Fraza, he's been my engineer for the last 20 years or more, ever since 1990 when I got to Woodstock. Um, so that's it. We're going to get started on May the 1st, and it's going to be really interesting. Really interesting.
I'm so excited about it.
Yeah.
yeah, it just seems like it's very much is a very great project. And you know what? I'm just saying that, with your experiences and just sharing your story and just really getting to know more about, your career, just doing music and just being a part of the E Street Band.
Mm,
I'm just kind of, yeah, we're gonna go way, way, way back to the 70s. Yeah, because that was kind of, I actually got a really good story. So the reason that I
sure.
know a lot about, the music from like the 60s and 70s is because, well,
Yeah.
both my mom and dad are raised in the same generation as you. So I know a lot about, Aretha Franklin, a lot of the
Mm,
bands and so many musicians that have come out, like brands, and also another one that I used to listen to all the time, and his name is kind of escaped. Little Richard. I think that was kind of like those are some of the like I'm just naming a
mhm.
lot of folks that are just revolutionary and just were very, very, very much like the I kind of like listening to people that are just really inspirational in a way and just or kind of groundbreaking and they took risks and they didn't really abide by any rules. They just kind of did what they felt that it's pretty much was a is still is a God-given talent for anybody that is doing this.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of how they were pretty much still well known and still remembered fondly to this very day. So when you were mentioning like the Peace and Love back in the 60s, it's still around, we're still getting it. It's never really officially died. It's just
No,
new
exactly right.
generation. Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
It didn't just die in mass. That's absolutely right. The
Yeah.
energy is still carried on. But
Exactly.
it's the
Yeah.
that was just a big wave of it. But then and again, that's the purpose of it. That's a sign of incremental progress, and then the wave leaves behind, everybody's wet, you know. The essence of that thing is still there. So um one thing that's happening to me that has been a big honor. It's been in the process for a couple of years, but my hometown, Belmar, New Jersey, is dedicating a weatherproof piano to me and my family on the 3rd of May in Belmar, New Jersey. So I'm going to be a whole like a 2-hour ceremony, and it's basically it's an amazing instrument. There's only about I think a dozen of them around. There's one in London. There's one in Boston University, and some out west. But it's an actual digital piano, like a digital grand piano with 88 keys, and it's in a cement casing, so it's like weatherproof, and it's outside. What you can do, the way they install it, they're going to put it in the park. It's like we have a kind of a town square. It's no traffic, and once it's installed, you could just walk up to it and sit down and start playing it, and enjoy it, and then move on like that. So that's going to happen on the 3rd of May, and I'll be there with my brother and my wife and Ernest Carter, was in my band Tone. He's going to come up and we're going to perform some music together. And yeah, that's it. And then that's actually after the first show. The first show of the Open Secret Tour is in Marlborough, New York. And then we got a couple days off, so I'll go to New Jersey, do the ceremony, and then we pick up Open Secret Tour on the 5th of May in Sellersville, Pennsylvania. And then after that, if I don't have it in front of me, I can't remember all the stuff. But we're moving on night after night. But yeah, definitely, I encourage everyone to go to the website, and all the information is there, and you can get tickets and everything there as well. So,
Yep. Way to go, man.
yeah,
I think that's pretty much all the self promo stuff that we
yeah,
got for right now. Yeah, there's just a lot. So hopefully you guys got all of that information out there. But I just wanted to thank you so much, David, for your time. It's been, oh my gosh, this was so much fun. I really love getting to chat with you. And
my pleasure, man.
yeah,
My pleasure.
yeah, if I have any last bit of advice,
Yeah.
just never be afraid to be yourself and
Mhm.
just do it. Just kind of basic that I say in every interview, but just do it. It's simple, but it's so effective. And with
It's a
that,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's everything, and that's you can apply that to whatever you do in your life, whatever your chosen profession is, or however you feel. There's nothing better than just being yourself, be your real, authentic self, and make a point to be a positive, productive part of this world. And that's the best that anyone could ever ask of you.
Right on, brother. Right on. On that note, thank you for watching. This is Station Square with Robert Jackson. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, stay safe, stay positive, stay happy, and yeah, God bless you all. Have a wonderful day and all the weeks coming up ahead. Peace. Live long and prosper.